Guys, welcome back to the horror with your host Jenna. I hope you guys are doing okay today. I know I am. Literally just got off work a little bit ago. Gave Mr. Peanut a walk and stuff. So just catching up on some stuff. Sorry that I haven't posted a video in like a week. I'm sorry. It just a little busy. Finishing Christmas shopping and stuff. Whatnot. So today, what I'm gonna do, no horror packs yet. I know they were shipped out a week ago today on the 15th, so it's been 7 days. I'm kind of giving them a little bit of a leniency here, just because I know, like, right around when they were being shipped, like that weekend, this past weekend, at least out here, we had a couple of like snowstorms, nothing like bad or anything, but I'm pretty sure that part of that snowstorm sort of was in the path of like at least my like horror pack delivery, so I know that kind of slowed them down a little bit. So whatevs. But today I figured what I'll do is I've been kind of wanting to talk about this series for a while now. Um, I wasn't sure how I was going to do this, but I think I'm just going to kind of go like movie through movie. In the first video I'm going to do of it is going to be of the first movie, the first installment, and that would be the first Scream. In this one, I know I've kind of showed this in a another video before, but this is like the first three movies and two documentaries on here, so that's why it's the 5 film set. But like I said, I'm just gonna be talking about the first movie, and I might, after I'm done talking about like all the movies in their own videos, I might do like a fifth video, just kind of like giving an overall opinion about the series. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. Maybe I'll get everything I want to say in each of the separate videos. And don't worry, I'm not gonna do like all 4 or 5 videos like today or 2 days or anything, so you're not going to get like a Scream overload, but you might get a few of these reviews pretty quickly. So I'm just giving you a little warning. We'll see what my schedule's like. But yeah, so Scream 1, and I know I've said like at least once or twice before that I have a very love-hate relationship with the franchise in general. Um, for a few different reasons. I think I'm probably gonna get into some of those today, some of those reasons. And don't get me wrong, like I do actually like this series. It's not one of my favorite franchises, but I do genuinely enjoy these movies. Even though I'm like, oh, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with these movies. Like I said, don't get me wrong. By no means am I like, do I hate the series? I don't. It's got some decent films in here, not so decent in others. But whatever. But anyway, let's actually dive into the first one. So I was watching this first movie yesterday actually, because I've seen each installment um, a couple of times. Sorry, I don't know why I feel like I'm losing my voice right now. I have no idea. No idea. Um, but yeah, like the first one definitely is probably the best of the series. Normally, the first one is almost always the best in any franchise. Very, very few times does like a sequel really surpass the original film. Very few times. It happens once in a while, but like I said, it's very rare. Um, so first movie, real simple, basic formula, and I do genuinely kind of like, like the sort of storyline and everything in the ending of this movie. So basically, for those of you who have not seen this movie, and by the way, too, just so you guys know, because today's the 22nd, 2 days ago on the 20th, it was exactly 20 years ago that this first movie hit theaters. So, fun little fact. Um, but yeah, so, terrific little cast. we've got Nev Campbell, Skeet Ulrich, Rose McGowan, blah, 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 blah. A ton of people. Sorry, I probably should IMDb'd these just to like remember. David Arquette, Courtney Cox, a lot of guys, a lot of people in here, and you guys know that. This movie actually came out after the movie The Craft, and I'll bring that up because of the fact that number one, Nev Campbell was in The Craft. She was one of the girls in there, and Skeet Ulrich was also in that movie as well. So it's just kind of like interesting to see them in a horror movie like the year before, and then or the same year, I should say. I think that movie came out the same year, and then having them in another horror movie, this one being like much bigger and really is known to be the Kickstarter in horror movies. Because for those of you who may be like a little bit younger, who may not have been alive yet in the early 90s, early to mid 90s for horror movies was pretty abysmal. Pretty tough time to be a horror fan. Didn't have the best horror movies coming out. There was a couple of gems, couple of movies that came out during that time that, at least for me, and I know other people have found a couple of little gems that we hold near and dear to our heart. For instance, The Craft, for me, is one of those movies. I know there's a ton that people kind of do love from the or from the early to mid 90s. But thanks to like Wes Craven and everything, bringing the movie Scream to us. And this I remember, like, at the time, like, when it came out, like, a lot of people were like, because they kind of pulled, they did pull quite a bit of, like, other, like, horror influences and kind of tied them into this movie. One of which being kind of like the beginning of the movie, they really kind of pulled like the Psycho cliche where you have this huge star at the beginning thinking that they're going to make it all the way to the end of the movie, or at least be in a good bulk of the movie. And what do you know, our starlet Drew Barrymore gets gutted and hung from a tree. So a lot of people were a little like, what? But whatever. An interesting little side note. I'm sure quite a few of you guys have probably heard of this. But there's that initial role that Drew Barrymore played. She actually last minute had to change because she was not supposed to be in that part. She was not supposed to have that little part. She actually was supposed to be Sidney Prescott, and then Nev Campbell was actually supposed to be Drew Barrymore's part or whatever. And I think it was because of a conflict of scheduling or something. I think Drew Barrymore had like a prior commitment that kind of got pushed up or something. So she's like, I can't be in the whole movie, and kind of like pitched the idea to Wes Craven, I think. And Craven was like, you know what, works for me. Let's do it. So interesting little side note on that little fun fact. Like I said, I'm sure probably a lot of you guys know that. But for those of you who may not have, I like sharing that stuff with you. So that's one of those things that kind of pays an homage to classic horror cinema. But anyway, so she gets killed. Obviously, her and her boyfriend get killed. And obviously before she gets killed, she gets this like wrong, like this call that's like wrong number, whatever. The guy keeps calling her back, and then starts creeping her out, and then is like, oh, let's play a game, blah blah blah. Kind of like a pre-Jigsaw. I kind of realized that while I was watching this yesterday. I was like, oh my God, like I wonder if that was kind of like an inspiration for like Saw movies. Like, you want to play a game. But yeah, so very much, just one of those kind of crazy movies. Like I said, a lot of like kind of like nods to like other horror movies. I mean, one of the perfect examples is when Henry Winkler's character, who plays the principal, he was also the Fonz in Happy Days. He's in his office, all the kids went home. He thinks he hears something, he kind of peeks his head out. And, like, the janitor, who is actually Wes Craven, like, mopping up the floor or something, in, like, that brown fedora and that red and green sweater, was like, oh, you say something? And he's like, oh, sorry, Fred, whatever. Fun little things like that. I also like, too, at the beginning with Drew Barrymore, they were talking about Nightmare on Elm Street or something. And, she's like, oh, yeah, the first one was great, the rest sucked, which is hilarious, because, I mean, most of them did suck. But number 3, which I know Wes Craven kind of co-wrote, to say, like, that one sucked by her, I think is hilarious. But yeah, so, we fast forward to, not necessarily fast forward, but we cut to then like Sidney Prescott. We are introduced to Sidney Prescott, the typical, good girl, virginal girl. Dayton, has a little boyfriend and everything. A little bit of bad boy. You feel like he's, not like outright rebellious or anything, but you definitely kind of get a little bit of sense of like he's a little rough around the edges. Nothing wrong with that though. And I mean, it's assumed that they, kind of have been dating for a while or whatever. And, we learn that, like Sydney, she doesn't have a mom. Her mom was actually, as the movie goes on, we find out that she was murdered like almost a year to the day before, by someone we also then find out later on that was wrongly accused of murdering her mom. And we also find out that her boyfriend, Billy Loomis, his mom actually had left like his dad at some point, presumably within like that last year as well, at least. Because I don't think they actually ever stated like when like Billy's parents split, but it's like I said, kind of presumed it was at least within that year before that his mom had left. I gotta say, there's some 90isms in this movie too. Like I'm just thinking about when after Billy Loomis gets locked up, or not locked up, but gets arrested for being a possible suspect of in trying to attack Sydney or whatever, and is then released or whatever, and they're standing in the hallway at the school, and God, what was the exact line? Like, oh, I'm sorry, my like tragic life or whatever is like a huge like inconvenience to your perfect existence or something. Like that's so 90s. Like that's something I so think of like coming from like Dawson's Creek or something. Or even like the TV show that Nev Campbell was on, like Party Five. Like I just feel like that was something that would definitely come from like one of those shows. Just like something a teen would say. And also very kind of teenish in some ways. And something that they do is like, they kind of do admit like the kid Randy, who's like the big horror buff and everything, like, he's like, yeah, you know what, everyone's a suspect, everyone could be a suspect, like here's, kind of some reasons why like certain people would be falling into this, as a suspect, and even was like admitted when he was confronted by Billy and his buddy of like, well, how do we know you're not the killer? And he's like, you know what? You're right. I would admit, if this is a horror movie, I would be the first one, to admit that. I would probably be the lead suspect because I'm into this stuff. So, a little bit of a red herring, I guess. I feel like there's so many people in this movie that could have been, like, red herrings. So, like, upon initial viewing, you're kind of like, ooh. But I also feel like they may have done that on purpose, just because, like, with how horror movies go, where it's, like, sometimes you feel like, last minute things of like, oh, let's change it to like have this person be it or this person be the killer or whatever, but whatevs. At least whenever I watch them now, I always feel like, God, that person easily could have like been the killer, and here's why or whatever. Like Courtney Cox's character, Gale Weathers. Like, there's so many times I feel like, God, she easily could have been one of the killers because like she doesn't get along with Sydney or whatever because Sydney believes that she like made up all these lies and everything, or she made up all these lies about Sydney and everything, and now Sydney's like pissed off at her. It's like, well, let's get revenge on her, blah blah blah. Or even like Dewey, which I got a little something to say about Dewey. But like Dewey, I mean, I could maybe even see. I know there's like a theory or something, like a fan theory out there of like Dewey was a third killer or something, but whatever. But something I just have to quickly say about Dewey though, because Tatum, which is was played by Rose McGowan, like I'm surprised. Like I don't maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but I just feel like they had a perfect opportunity with that character to um like in a sequel, maybe the second one, maybe not the second one, but easily could have had him be a killer because Tatum, got killed. She was in that infamous the garage door um killing when she was trying to escape the garage and she went through like the little cat door or whatever, got killed that way. But it's like, it's weird because it's like after that, like in none of the sequels, she was never mentioned again. It was never like, oh my God, Dewey, that sucks. Like your sister, you lost your sister or whatever. It was like never mentioned again, which, I mean, I understand where, you don't really want a character, and I don't expect anyone to like literally every day of their life, like literally loathing, just like, oh my God, my sister, just like whatever. Like I know they would be like, but at least there would be times where you're like, man, dude, my sister, I lost my sister, I missed my sister, like, oh, my sister would probably, I wonder what my sister would be doing today. It's like, it's never mentioned again, so I think easily he could have, you know, had an easy motive to be like, dude, you know what, like, because of you and your mother, like, my sister's dead, I don't know why I'm doing that, but that's just my own opinion. Or even if like they did it in the second one, because I know the killers were one of the killers was like Loomis's mom, right? Yeah, Loomis's mom, right? Um, which sorry for the spoiler on number 2. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is how I feel. Like I said, I know there's this little like fan theory of that like Dewey was like the third killer, but whatever. But yeah, and then it something that I just like I hate about this movie, and maybe this is why like I have this sort of love-hate relationship, because there's so many things about this movie that I do love, but there are certain things about it that I hate that then saturated every movie afterwards. And it's kind of sucks because this is not the first movie to do this. Number one, it goes through like all the rules of a horror movie, and like, like no sex, no having, no doing drugs, no drinking, no underage drinking, blah blah blah, doing this, and then like sort of like the self-awareness that seems to like follow after that of like, oh, the killer's gonna come and get me, or like when Tatum is getting killed and she's like, oh, can I play the helpless victim? Oh, I want to be in the sequel. I feel like after that, actually, after that, it seemed like every horror movie did it. I feel like we still get that from time to time. But it's just, that's something that I just hated, because it's like every movie was like, oh, or like, oh, the killer, this is when the killer would come and get us. And it's like, and it's all credited to Scream. Scream was not the originator of this, of being kind of like self-aware. I like one of the earlier movies that had done this, which was done almost a decade earlier, if not an exact decade earlier, was Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. And I'm not saying that this was the first one either, because I'm pretty sure there's like a couple movies before this that that kind of did this, but I know that movie itself, Friday Part 6, was an inspiration for Williamson, Stephen Williamson? Kevin Williamson, who wrote the script, saw that movie and was kind of inspired by some of that, like, self-awareness. Like the scene in Friday Part 6 where the two are, like, driving the car in the woods or whatever, like, she suddenly stops or whatever, and, she kind of makes that joke of, like, oh, I know, I've seen enough horror movies to know a guy wearing a hockey mask is never a good thing. So it's like, it was being done years and years before Scream, but unfortunately, since Scream was such a huge hit, like, it's credited for kind of originating that, and that's something that I can't stand. Everyone gives a credit to Scream for that, and it's like, it's not the originator of it. And like I said, I know Friday 6, I'm pretty sure wasn't the originator of it either. But, it's definitely not one of the first movies to, like, infuse that sort of sense of humor and, like, self-awareness into a movie. So I'm just saying. Just saying. So, yeah, so, all this stuff that's going on. We've got literally spewing out, like, the rules and stuff. And, like, even, like, in each of the sequels and stuff, like, it kind of, like, does, like, set up the rules of, like, like, what a sequel is, a second, or, like, number 2 movie is, what a trilogy would involve, and even, like, in Scream 4, like, like, the remake type stuff. And that's something, like, I like in a sense to a certain extent, but at the same time, I really dislike that, because I just feel like, as an audience, I just feel like, in no disrespect to, like, the writers or even Wes Craven, may he rest in peace, Wes Craven, we still miss you, but I just feel like, because they have to, like, kind of, like, explain the rules of, like, whatever installment we're watching, it's like, do you think we're really that stupid that you need to write this in the script and someone needs to go over that? Like, I mean, part of it is kind of genius to do, but at the same time, it's like, really? Really? Like I said, I mean, it's not something where, like, I dislike enough, or, or anything where I'm like, I hate this movie, I hate it. Because, like I said, there's a lot in this movie that I do like, and these movies that I do like. Very love-hate relationship. I mean, and I have to say, I mean, even though I nitpick on that, it was, at the end of the day, was kind of done in a very smart way. Like I said, I just feel like sometimes when I watch these, it's like, ugh, you think we're so stupid that you have to explain, all the, like, rules of a horror movie. Whatever. Whatever. Like I said, I'm not, it annoys me sometimes, but I'm not, like, that broken up about it. Whatevers. So, so all this stuff's going on. Obviously, killers are going on and everything. I almost said Sam Loomis. Billy Loomis. Little things like that, too. Loomis, where, little homages to, like, previous movies, like the Sam Loomis character from Psycho and from Halloween and stuff. The little Freddy, Wes Craven dressed up as Freddy and stuff. This really was flooded with that, and I think that's why I kind of have a big soft spot for these, especially the first one, because it does have a few Easter eggs and stuff, and, like, references and stuff. And I feel like, at least as a fan, that's where, we were kind of, like, acknowledged as, like, real human beings, and, like, we have these, like, this education in horror movies, and it's like, hey, look, you know what, like, these people aren't bad people. They're actually usually, like, just normal, everyday people who, look normal, not, like, we're not always, like, looking all weird and everything or whatever. We might have our own personal style, but we're normal human beings too. So, I think that's another reason why I have a soft spot, because it kind of sent us into the wide open world and really kind of showed us on the screen of like, that's me right there. So what else? What else? So getting towards the end of the movie and stuff, with the big party and everything. And obviously Tatum was killed in the garage door. And something that kind of like also pisses me off too is I really feel like when you should be able to start kind of putting two and two together of like who the killers are. So she's already dead, and like the party clears out. It's like, and her boyfriend, played by Matthew Lillard, like is like sitting on like the sofa or something, or on one of the love seats, just like hanging out. Like, dude, didn't you send your girlfriend like 3 hours ago to get you a beer? Like, don't you think like, hey, where is she? Everyone's kind of gone. Like, you guys didn't have a fight or anything. Like, wouldn't you kind of think, where's your girlfriend? So that's where I'm saying, like, you kind of start putting things together of like, hmm, hmm. Um, and then Billy kind of shows up and is like, hey, I want to talk to Sid, can I talk to her alone, blah, blah, blah. And of course they go upstairs, and Sydney decides to, give herself up to Billy, offer herself to Billy, which of course we know, like, no, you don't want to do that, you're gonna die, you're gonna die. And of course, with all people, spoiler alert, she's having sex with one of the killers, which is even worse, just saying. So yeah, so, she has sex or whatever, and she's still, you can tell she's still a little skeptical, and you kind of see Billy a bit like, think it's me, and, starts getting a little dark, like, his expression's getting a little dark and stuff, so that's when you're kind of like, oh man, he's, he could be one of the killers, I think he's the killer, and of course, here comes someone else, in the ghost face getup, and is, like, stabbing him, so you think, oh my god, wait, no, he's really not the killer, kind of throws you off a little bit, so running through the house, trying to escape and everything. And then, Matthew Lillard, she runs into Matthew Lillard and Jamie Kennedy outside. And, they're both pointing at her like, no, he's the killer, no, 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 no. And you're kind of like, for a second, you're like, wait a second, Jamie Kennedy's character, wait, he's really the killer? Wait, is he possibly really the killer? Like, wait, what? Of course, we then find out that it was Billy Loomis and blah, 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 Matthew Lillard's character were the killers. And we come to find out that, the reason, and I, like, Matthew Lillard's character, like, you could tell in the movie, too, like, his character didn't even know, like, what? Like, the reason why? So we come to find out that Billy is, like, killing these kids, killing his peers, and getting to Sydney because, number one, it was a year to the day at this point that her mom was brutally murdered. And then we come to find out that he actually killed his mom, or her mom. And the reason why he killed her mom was because of the fact that her mom, Maureen Prescott, was having an affair with his father. Thus, his mom ended up finding out and leaving, and, like, just totally leaving town and everything, and, like, was like, see ya. So it's kind of like, oh, well, you're, kind of like getting revenge, just really kind of wanting to destroy this family's life, basically, because he had actually ended up, kidnapping her dad, because he was going to go on a business trip. It was like, oh, perfect, so I can, like, I have a couple of days to, like, set him up and everything, because they were going to set him up, the dad, as, the killer and everything. They would get away with the scotch-free and everything, pretty much destroying a family's life, all because, in his mind, and kind of rightfully so, ended up, this woman, Maureen Prescott, pretty much ruined his life and his family's life, broke up his family and stuff, became a broken home. So, and that's what, I was kind of saying at the beginning of the video where it's like the motive behind this I like. Oh, sorry, I feel like I gotta sneeze. I feel like I gotta sneeze. I gotta sneeze. Hopefully I don't have to sneeze. But like little things like that, like I feel like the that type of a motive where it's like, oh, like I'm getting revenge on you because, your mom had an affair with my dad or whatever. Like I feel like it's very kind of um like 80s sort of homage a little bit because I like some of the movies I first think of like revenge are like, the first Friday 13th. Friday 13th part 2 even because, Jason Stephanie avenging his mother's death. Prom night because the one brother is trying to get, revenge on the death of his like twin sister. Like Terror Train, like stuff like that where there's like more like specific sort of like motives, like very clear cut motives and stuff of why these people are doing this. So I mean, I like that. And I also too kind of like that they had the line in this movie of because I think Sydney had said something like, "Oh God, you guys are sickos" or something, or like, "You guys watch too many movies. You guys are sickos," and they were like, "No, like, you know." Horror movies don't create psychos; they just make us more like imaginative or whatever. And it's I feel like I mean, I don't want to say people necessarily go out and like kill people because of these movies, but I do feel like they don't turn people into psychos. Like if you're already kind of like sick in the head, you're already a little like messed up in the head, and you see something like this, or you see like a Rambo movie or RoboCop movie or Terminator or something, you're gonna end up like doing something sick and twisted because you're already kind of fucked up in the head. But like I kind of acknowledge like that they acknowledged that in this movie, and they were defending like the horror genre. It's like, yeah, if you're already kind of messed up and you're watching these movies, whatever, So basically, it's like that's all, folks. Not yet. But basically, just having like a little bit of like a defending horror movies of like, no, we don't necessarily influence like these level-headed people into becoming these weird psychos. No, this is level-headed people will know that this is entertainment. If you're a weirdo, psycho, a little bit messed up, you're gonna take it too far no matter what. So, but anyway. So yeah, so basically, they end up like getting killed or whatever because they the survivors outsmart um, Billy Loomis and Matthew Lillard's character and everything. So we have the survivors of obviously Sidney Prescott, played by Sidney, played by Neve Campbell. The father, we've got Courtney Cox's character, Gale Weathers, surviving. We have David Arquette, character, Dewey, surviving. And we have Jamie Kennedy's character surviving as well. So little, quite a few people survived in that movie, but I do feel like there were quite a few like deaths as well. So I feel like with as many survivors as we had just about as many deaths, if not a little bit more, I think. So, so I feel like that was a pretty good balance because I know I've seen movies where it's like there's how many people surviving and there was like one death. Like really? Like Freddy's dead. Like I feel like there's way too many survivors in that and we had like 3 deaths. If that. And I know Freddy's not known for like a high body count, but it was still like there's like 52 survivors in that one. Like no joke. Like could we knock off maybe one more person to balance it out? But whatever. Like I'm not gonna like I said, whatever. What else? But yeah, that's my little take on it. Sorry this video is so long. I didn't think it was gonna be like over half an hour. I'm sorry. But yeah, so it's kind of my take on it. On the first one at least. So stay on the lookout in upcoming weeks. I'll try not to like I said, totally bombard you with like all these Scream reviews. I'll try and like break it up a little bit. Obviously, with like at least my horror packs, maybe a review here and there of something different, unrelated to Scream. But like I said, hopefully within the next few weeks, I'll get to all of these movies and review all of them because I feel like it's a quick series to get through and talk about. So, but anyway, once again, sorry for such a long video, you guys. Thanks for watching, though. Thanks for all of you guys who've been following me, who have been subscribing to me, liking my videos, commenting and everything. I greatly appreciate it. Don't forget, though, any of you guys who are coming across my channel, any one of you who are coming across my videos, feel free to subscribe, like those videos, like them, do a little comment or something, keep me updated on how you guys doing, what you guys think of these videos and stuff. But until next time, you guys, with whatever I may have, you guys have a wonderful day, and if I don't see you before then, happy holidays and whatever you celebrate. And as always, stay classy and creepy.